Coming up today, we're chatting with Jason Leong.
When I first did my first stand-up comedy gig, the comedy industry in Malaysia was just beginning.
I'll fill you in on the great Dunny Hunt, and Dan will tell us about the Gurge coming to Newey. Produced on Awabakal and Warramai land, this is The Good Stuff on Newcastle Live.
This is
Good. Good
stuff.
The Great Dunny Hunt is back, and organisers are calling for locals to update the National Public Toilet Map. Coinciding with World Continence Week, the data collected will ensure people can find a dunny when they need it most. The Great Dunny Hunt kicks off this Friday, and it's pretty damn easy to get involved, so make sure that you head over to Newcastle Live to find out more.
Good.
The hilarious Jason Leong will perform his show Why Are You Like This on the 1st and 2nd of May. We caught up with him for a chat. What inspired you to make the transition from being a medical doctor into, going into comedy?
Mostly greed and narcissism. But the truth is, when I first did my first stand-up comedy gig, the comedy industry in Malaysia was just beginning. And I could see that in the next few years, after I started my first ever gig, things were going to explode exponentially because the appetite for stand-up comedy in this region, in the Southeast Asia region, was very high.
Yeah.
So once I knew that I could make enough money outside of medicine, i.e. in comedy, I thought that was the perfect opportunity to leave medicine and do comedy full-time. And I've not looked back since.
And so when did you start doing comedy?
So my first ever gig was actually in June 2010.
Okay.
And 4 years later, I became full-time. So I left my job 4 years later and then did stand-up comedy full-time.
Yeah. It's amazing that there wasn't really a scene before 2010. That's crazy.
Yeah. It all started when Russell Peters became viral on YouTube. And then suddenly, everyone in Asia was like, hey, we like comedy too. And we also can be funny on stage.
Of course.
So all the scenes in all these countries started whilst mutually exclusive from one another, but we all started around the same time.
Yeah.
Before that, there wasn't really a stand-up comedy scene because it wasn't really in our culture to watch people on stage. And, stand-up comedy is a very, a very confrontational form of art.
Yes.
So we weren't exposed to, we didn't have that in our culture, but now we do.
That's amazing. And look, you've actually done some pretty incredible things through your career. You were the first Malaysian comic to appear at Just for Laughs in Montreal, which is fabulous, and first comedian from Southeast Asia to have 2 Netflix specials.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be, taking your comedy and sharing it with the world?
For the longest time, I've always wanted to perform comedy outside of Malaysia.
Yeah.
Because my first time in 2015 performing at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival, it was like a big fish in a small pond now swimming into the ocean because I could see what comedy could be, all these comedians doing all different genres and types of comedy, and to see like the big stars selling out theaters and arenas. So I realized then that if I were to grow as a comic, I had to do comedy outside of my comfort zone, i.e. Malaysia. And and it entails writing material, which is, you don't have to be Malaysian to get my jokes. So I was really lucky that I got into JFL in 2022. I was pushing hard for it. And there was a show called The New Faces International.
Yeah.
So I got into that amazing experience because again, it's like going to Montreal and seeing the greats, the elites doing stand-up, and learning from them. And the Netflix special, of course, it's a lot of hard work, but it's hard work which is worth it because then Netflix is the only credit that promoters and bookers in developed markets like in the UK, Australia, and America, this Netflix is the only credit that they go, oh, okay, this guy must be good because if I were to do other stuff, they wouldn't know, but they know Netflix.
Yeah, that's true. It's a pretty big feather in the cap.
Yes. It's a easily recognizable feather.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
So, look, I'd love to know, how did you learn if you didn't really have, community around you that was, practicing comedy? Yeah, how did you go about, developing early on?
Oh, that's such a great question. So I think even before I ever did stand-up comedy, my hobbies kind of pushed me in that direction, even though there wasn't comedy then.
Yeah.
I like speaking. Like I said, I like hearing my own voices. So when I was in secondary school, all the school activities or events, I was the MC.
Okay.
And then I joined the debate team, and then I participated in like national public speaking competitions. So I was already getting ready for a career of me speaking on stage. And I like cracking jokes because I was a class clown.
Yeah.
I was always the one teasing the other kids in class and trying my best to make people laugh. So when stand-up comedy came along, I was like, I got to try it.
Have you been to Newcastle before?
Yes, this will, when I come again, that'll be my second time.
Beautiful.
My first time was last year.
Yeah, cool.
I had a great time. But the thing is, it's such a beautiful place. But weirdly enough, I can't fly in from like Sydney, or like the airport doesn't have flights from several cities, so I had to take the train. That was a great experience taking the train. Yeah,
it would have been. What was the experience like?
Oh, I met lots of people. I mean, I didn't meet them. I saw lots of people who were a bit rough and tumble.
Yeah,
rough and tough kind of types, and I felt really scared.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I pulled up in my hotel was like, I believe, next to a part of town which was very rough. So I was quite scared. But then I realized that in Australia, even the rough people are nice and friendly.
Yeah. And honestly, I think in Australia, it's so weird because I think the rougher people are probably more friendly than, the people that look all put together.
That's interesting. Yes, you're right. They're more friendly and forthcoming in a strange way.
Yeah, it is very strange. So look, you'll be bringing your show Why You Like This to Newcastle. Can you give us a little bit of a tease of what it's about?
Well, so my previous show was called Brain Drain, where I tell people that I want to migrate out of Malaysia, and it's a bit about how things in Malaysia are not well suited for stand-up comedy now, in terms of the freedom of the space. This year, I decided to be more introspective, like a lot of stories that have occurred since last year. And I realized that when I think about these stories, and I was trying to put together the hour, and I was telling the stories on stage, and the theme was like, why am I like this?
Yeah.
Like why would I think of that? Or why did I behave that way in that story I just told?
Yeah.
So I thought, let's put together a show called Why Are You Like This?
Yeah.
And it kind of works because and it's true. In my blurb, I say at the end of the show, you'll still be asking yourself, why is this guy like this?
That's amazing.
Which is a question I ask myself.
Yeah. Well, that's brilliant. Look, I can't wait to see it. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today. It's been great to chat.
Oh, thanks for having me. Thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you and everyone else in Newcastle.
This is where it
Sounds good.
good stuff.
Brisbane Freaks Regurgitator are headed to Newcastle as part of their national tour this May. The So Invasive Tour will celebrate Regurgitator's 30th year in the business with support from Party Dozen. Jeez, we're getting old. The Mighty Gurge will play the Band Room at King Street on the 31st of May. To find out more about the tour, head to newcastlelive.com.au.
The good stuff. That's it for the good stuff for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you on Tuesday for more of the good stuff. Enjoy your Easter and whatever.